Football-related violence in the UK is escalating, with the police concerned that the English game is in danger of returning to the dark days of the 70s and 80s. Since the hooliganism that marred last summer's European Championship final at Wembley, the authorities believe the rise in antisocial behaviour is fuelled by Class A drugs like cocaine, as well as alcohol. And there's a new, much younger generation of football fans mixing with football risk groups. So we joined a police operation for a busy weekend of football in Nottingham.
The intelligence is that this small minority of risk supporters are misusing Class A drugs, namely cocaine, and that is what the focus of today's operation is about. Joining
Nottinghamshire Police this weekend is one of only 2 national dedicated football officers in the UK.
We've seen an increase in disorder this season at football games and really antisocial behaviour in relation to football.
Operation Wolfgang starts early. Grimsby fans are arriving by train almost 5 hours before kick-off, and officers with sniffer dogs are waiting to identify fans in possession of Class A drugs. To avoid getting pulled aside and possibly arrested, many discard their drugs before reaching the checkpoint. Some also dump illegal flares. 2 hours later, with 2 more hours to drink, the second train arrives, carrying more Grimsby fans.
They've had a lot more time to drink. The carriages themselves were full of empty drinks containers, cans and bottles. British Transport Police colleagues have been onto the train as well. It's in a terrible condition to the extent that they've had to take it out of service. Some of the seats are urine, so there's evidence of drug misuse, so evidence of residue of powder and bags from holding drugs.
I've been covering football matches as a journalist for nearly 30 years. But what struck me here in Nottingham was just how young some of the supporters in this group were. Looking no older than 14 or 15, perhaps even younger.
That's not unusual. You might find there were a few that were younger than that. Some would have been with older relatives, and many wouldn't have been. So there are safeguarding concerns there, then, aren't there? If we're identifying youngsters that are drunk, you know, if they can't look after themselves, if there aren't appropriate or suitable adults to take responsibility, then we need to step in at that point.
Once the police are satisfied that the majority of visiting fans are now in the city, the football officers move to Meadow Lane, Notts County's ground. Here, more arrests are made. The main challenge is keeping the 2 sets of supporters apart. Notts County secure a stoppage time free kick. The score is 1-1. Their fans announce their intention to storm the pitch if they score the winning goal. When they do, the fans rush towards the line of stewards, swamping an area occupied by now terrified, disabled spectators. Officers in the stadium control room are in communication with the local rail services about providing a special train and additional buses to get the Grimsby fans home. British Transport Police officers are also being deployed from across the Midlands to travel with them. Over a single weekend in Nottingham, we saw evidence that some of the disorder is indeed being fuelled by Class A drugs. We saw how fans trashed a train and terrorised passengers and rail staff. On Sunday, we also witnessed outbreaks of violence in the city centre and a shocking moment when a teenager ran onto the pitch to assault players celebrating a goal. The thing that struck me most over the weekend was the age of some of these supporters, potentially the next generation of football hooligans.